Welcome to the Creative Island Podcast,
a show aimed at helping creative individuals transform their passion into profession.
Each episode will share powerful strategies, tips, and practical tools to empower you to create the income, the lifestyle, and the legacy you were designed for.
We are your hosts, Adam Bowman
and Jason Pepper.
Enjoy the show. Creative Island, what's going on? Episode number 12. We're out here. I did not think we'd get to 12 episones, so I'm already excited, dude.
I was actually wondering if you were going to stop counting the episode the beginning. Because you'd be like, whatever, episode 29. Like,
yeah, well, I think, after 20, I'll probably just be like, this is another Creative Island episode, because it just like, but I think I just want to reinstate the milestones. And then it's also it's funny thing, because for the audio track, if I say this is like episode 11, I know which one we did first or
gotcha.
Like, you know what I mean? And like, I can check file names or whatever, but it is what it is. But yeah, welcome back. It's another week, another day. And today, Jason's handed me the topic suggester for today. And I kind of want to talk about finding your North Star as an artist and sort of what that looks like and how that guides you along for your goals, aspirations, your values, and sort of everything that kind of intertwines with that.
Yeah, so I didn't, why don't you explain to people what a North Star is? Because I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Well, I mean.
So if we think about the analogy in its base sense, there's the North Star. And back in the day, people found their way by navigating themselves with this beaming star, and it was the brightest star in the sky, and they knew that was due north. I don't think it was polar north. I don't want to get into the semantics of it, but they followed that star, and they could get back to their village. They could get back to their watering hole. They could, they were prosperous because they had this thing that guided them in the sky. So this analogy is more so to say you have this set of values or this core belief system that you sort of follow, that sort of you follow, and it guides you along, and it helps you in the decision-making process. It helps you build power, it helps you compound everything into your business, but it stems from your core belief system, and that influences you. Does that make sense? Explaining
totally. I got it. Just for the listeners.
Yeah.
I just found out what it is before.
No, but I just need to make sure that you're on board, because if you don't fucking know what's going on, then nobody will.
I'm picking up what you're laying down, bro.
Yeah, but essentially, to give, and so I'll say mine, sort of just to get it started. But I didn't find my North Star. If you've been following along, they'll know from the first podcast that I was heavily influenced as an athlete, and that's what I wanted to do. But I quickly realized this isn't for me. A couple concussions. I was like, fuck this shit. No, thank you. So then I got gifted a camera, and it sort of shifted my North Star, if you will. My North Star before was I'm going to be a professional athlete. This is whatever decision, I'm going to eat right, I'm going to grind, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to do everything I can. Once I sort of that North Star faded away in me, I had to find another one. And at the same time, I was really into movies. I love movie directors. I love watching interviews with them. I love them building their community. So my North Star started to get brighter and brighter and brighter in the sense of the number one thing I want to do in life is direct movies in a high capacity. So that is my North Star. That is my beaming North Star. I wake up and think about it every day. I go to sleep and think about it every night. And I think I built this core belief systems of what does that mean? What does that look like? What does directing movies look like? Is it in Hollywood? Is it just in Toronto? Is it just in Canada? What does it look like? So you sort of have to kind of refine it a little bit. But I think for me, the actual North Star is directing films in a certain capacity where I'm fulfilled as a person and I'm fulfilling a community of people that are interested within the movies. Is that making sense? Are you following along?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
totally.
So I think what you can do in your own life is sort of figure out not necessarily your number one goal. It doesn't have to be I'm not saying my number one goal is to make a movie about X, Y, and Z, and then after that I'm done. If my North Star, if I achieve the North Star, I can keep on doing it. That's the whole point of it. It's not one and done. There's not a set time frame. There's no parameters. It's not really measurable in that way. Because once you're doing it, you'll build more belief systems. You know what I mean? Makes sense. I think when I'm working on a project that isn't as intuitive, it's not as difficult. There's low parameters, low expectations. I come in and be I look into my core belief system. And I'm what in this is dictating what I can do to grow and get closer to my North Star? You know what I mean? So if I have a project that's just about some product, whatever, it's just some run-of-the-mill product, mosquito barriers. I work for this mosquito barrier company, sick-ass product. It's all, non-GMO. They use garlic. It works too, which is crazy. But first they presented me and I did the run-of-the-mill stuff and I was whatever. But then they came to me again and I'm how can I add value? How can I look at my core belief system, put on my director's cap and really, really go above and beyond for these people, but also have that relate back to putting me on like building that scaffolding to get forward and get closer to the North Star. So I made a little short story and came up with that. And it wasn't even, they didn't even pay for it. I just gave it to them. And now they come to me like every year for stuff. So it's compounded in that way where it's giving me more business, and it's also gotten me closer to the North Star. And it's in a portfolio piece so I can show other people what I've done and story tell and just keep on going. You know what I mean? Does it make sense?
Yeah, no, yeah, totally.
And so, like, I think when you were a musician, probably when you started playing guitar, you had some sort of North Star come out of that when you first started playing. Because I mean, like you said in other podcasts, you wanted to sleep with chicks and get drugs, but there was something else there that was like marrying like two things that you love together, which is like song and dance or whatever. And I think that lends more to itself than just like the easy thing of like I want to sleep with chicks and get drugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to find the deeper meaning behind stuff. Like for me, like maybe a bit more of my backstory. I was drawing like at 18 months old. Started drawing in 3 dimension and stuff, and loved to paint and draw like from a really young age, and still do, and still draw a lot. And I became known as like the guy that draws really cool pictures.
You're the weird kid that drew
I was just one of those guys. I was like the quiet guy in the room, just like drawing when everyone was like doing other stuff, and it got to the point where like I would get special privileges from the teachers to like kind of let me take extra time on projects or art projects or stuff. And I found that I was just trying to speak to people in a greater capacity than the English language.
Interesting. Okay.
And I was trying to reach people on a deeper level. Okay. And then I think when I was about maybe 8 or 9 or 10, my grandmother gave me this old acoustic guitar that came in a box, you know, like one of these like really cheap kind of thing. I don't even think it was $100. Maybe it was even half that. And it didn't sound very good, and it wasn't anything special. Yeah. But that was sort of a gateway to another way to communicate on another deep level. It's a
universal language too, right? Music is weird like that.
Totally. Yeah. Well, I think art in general is the most prolific way to communicate. Yeah. Because it talks to people on such a wide range of levels that it like the English language or any language just doesn't quite hit all those points, you know. So I've always been a little bit fascinated with that, and then so music became another vehicle for me. And I still love to paint and draw and stuff, but music just got more exciting. And then I was like in my teens, and I'd had a lot of years of learning how to play, so I started to develop a bit of a style and a way I wanted to like play and a type of audience I wanted to play to. And then, you know, it's a rebellious thing. Yeah. A teenager. And then, of course, you know, it grows into that. But yeah. And so I think that was my North Star for a long time, you know, where I just wanted to like excite a feeling in someone or share a feeling with someone who I didn't know through a song that I'd made or through a picture I had developed or something.
And I think what's cool, like after time, you stop asking yourself why you're doing this. You know what I mean? Because you already know, like you don't have to like wake up and be like, why am I doing this film thing? Why am I playing the guitar? What is this for? But you stop asking yourself. And then I think, that's when your core beliefs are lined up and you can just go, because you don't have to ask yourself why. You might not be able to articulate it in a language form because it's your art, it's your music, it's your films that articulate that for you. And people will get that from the work that you're doing, because if you're struggling to find your voice or something like that, it's going to take a hit. But once you solidify those core beliefs of what you believe in, it's going to get a lot easier. And just to not have to think about and convince yourself why you're doing this, it gets a lot easier at the end of the day too.
Yeah. And you know what? Somewhere that I went wrong that maybe other people might get some value from is like, your North Star doesn't have to change. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be more extravagant, or it doesn't have to be anything other than what it is. Like if you're someone that just wants to sit and draw pictures, that's fine. That's enough. Yeah. You know, like how you earn money down the road is another avenue. The problem is as you get older, societal expectations start to creep up. And if you fall victim to that and you say, okay, yeah, they're right and I'm wrong, then you just, you kind of extinguish the flame.
Yeah, no, 100%. And to that point, like I thought like before that, like this whole sports thing was my life. And when I kind of made a point of like shattering that North Star so I could like make a clear change into arts and whatnot. But then as soon as I found a voice and found my footing within art, like my body took a hit from not being as active before. And I kind of stood in the channel. I was like, why was I like way happier before, like younger person? Because I was doing so many goddamn things. I was out playing soccer. I was out doing like 10 different sports. So I like kind of shifted and I was like, no, you need another sort of alignment. That's like, you need to focus on your health at the same time. So I got that North Star kind of grew back a little bit. And now I'm back in the gym. And I think it's just like, to your point, you don't need necessarily one, but you need things that align you in certain avenues and keep you fixated on like a given goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. And but I think that we talk about feedback all the time. I think on every episode we touch on it to some degree. But it's so important. Like your physiology is telling you what's right for you.
Yeah.
You know, in so many ways. And like I remember like when I stopped playing, you know, when I started playing music less and less and less, and it was something I was really, you know, passionate about for a long time, and I started sort of buying into this, like, well, I better get a job. Like, I mean, have to buy a house, or I'm gonna have to like get a car, and I need money, and a life, you know, is starting to happen. And as soon as I let go of the thing that was really meaningful to me, all of a sudden I started getting all these symptoms around me, you know? And it was like the harder I tried to run from the thing that I loved, the harder it hit me back to make me realize that I was making the wrong mistake. But then the crazy thing is you can have these symptoms and you could not even realize that the value in what it's telling you, you know? And I see this, people do this all the time where, you know, somebody gives up on something that's really meaningful to them, goes and works a job for, you know, their whole life, and then retires, and then like you just become a really unhappy person. But those are all symptoms, right? You'll get symptoms in your life sort of as a way of nature saying, this isn't really authentic to you. Here's some pain and suffering. Hopefully that'll steer you back. But if you don't listen to the feedback, you know, it'll just kill you eventually. You'll get symptoms to the point where your human body it's over. Your life's done.
And I noticed, like, when I was doing any other job before I could really make money doing videography or filmmaking or whatever, I'd be like washing dishes, like scrubbing this fucking pan at kitchen off 6, being like, why the fuck am I working this job? Like, you don't want to work in a kitchen environment. And you're thinking about how this story connects to another one in some film you've made up that you're writing. And it's just like, why aren't you going towards that more? And then what saved me was I was having the same symptoms when I was working at Levi's. I couldn't think about, I was a terrible salesperson. I didn't give a fuck about selling jeans. Like I told people to leave the store because I didn't want to sell them shit. Like in a different capacity. Like, okay, I'll tell that story real quick. But like some dude came in and he was like, him and Han about jeans. I was like, go down to Old Navy. You can find $20 jeans. You're fine. And I just like, once I realized like I steered someone away, I was like, hey, fuck this. But like every single time I'd be in there, I'd be thinking about this story I'd be writing for film school. And I'd be like just super disassociating with the actual job and just wandering around thinking about film, thinking about some shot, like closing my eyes and like customers coming up to me and being like, yeah, whatever, like blah, 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 blah. So I was a terrible salesman. But then COVID happened and it saved me and I got laid off. And then I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to start the business. And then like I started the business and haven't looked back. I'm like, there's no way in hell I can work like one of those retail jobs again, which is fine. Like, because if you have to work a retail job to pay for rent, whatever, that's super honorable. But I have the capacity because I'm living at home to like take those risks. And I'm super grateful for that, because if I didn't, one, have the opportunity to like sometimes eat shit for like a couple months and take risks, then, you know, I'd still have to work those jobs. But at the same time, I'm super grateful that I was laid off because of COVID, because I might still be working retail jobs and trying to do both things equal handed. You know what I mean? But at the same time, getting back to the core belief system, I had that North Star driving me from Levi's. And as soon as like I got laid off, it was automatic. I automatically knew that I had to get into this avenue of starting my own business and working for myself and whatever. And I think if you find that North Star, whenever adversity shows up in your life, you can look to it and it'll tell you what to do no matter what.
Yeah, no, and I totally believe that. It's symptoms. Like listen to the symptoms. If they're, you know, if there's like a bunch of pain and suffering or you know, I mean, like how many times in your life have you like puffed yourself up or made yourself feel bigger than you actually were? You put yourself on a pedestal and then immediately some crazy humbling event or tragic circumstances enters and it just humbles you. And it's like, there are all these really wild mechanisms, you know, I think built into keeping us on the right path. But if you ignore them and you don't understand how to read them, you're going to you're going to misunderstand the information.
Totally.
And you're going to the world's going to keep giving you symptoms, and you're going to keep not understanding that, it's trying to tell you something, and you're just going to, it's this terrible feedback that's negatively compounding over time.
Yeah, exactly. No, there's the energy forces that be that just shit happens. And I think, but coming back to it, I think when adversity hits, it shows your true colors. And I think it just helps when you have a North Star aligned to who you are, because it'll just tell you what to do. If you're in a sticky situation, you get laid off. Being fired sucks. I've been fired before. It's brutal. But I had the chance to have something greater power, whatever it be, whatever spiritual, get back to spirituality, whatever it may be. It is like having a North Star is definitely spiritual, because it runs through you. And I think, when you hit those adversity points, it guides you forward.
Yeah. Everything in life is spiritual, by the way. Like spirituality by definition, I think we talked about this in one of the first episodes, is something that just drives you intrinsically, right? Something that's like from within. And that can be anything.
Yeah, and I think for me, I try to articulate things, because my reading level's at a grade 6. Let's be honest. So I try to articulate things that just make sense for me. So the North Star just makes sense for me because it is intrinsic, like you said. But giving it another name and another value makes me comprehend it a little bit easier, because it's more of the analogy. I understand analogies better than because sometimes reading I did a philosophy class in Humber, and some of the stuff they're saying, I had to create analogies to understand what they were saying, because it was so beyond my reading level that I was I need to tie this in, bring something in that I can compare it to, and then figure out how this works and what this means. You know what I mean? But I think it goes back to it is spiritual, but my way of articulating it is just with the North Star, because it's easier.
Yeah, no, and I think it's a great way to sort of package it up. But I think I want people to know that you can make a living doing anything. Yeah. Because making a living is a matter of adding value to someone else's life. That's what it is. If you add value to someone else, there's compensation in whatever form that is. And money is just an exchange for products and services, right? Yeah. So there's a way to make money in anything. People are buying crazy things these days, subscribing to wild things that would never have been possible in the past, or would have been laughed at in the past or something. So there's no reason why you can't make money at what you're doing and love what you do and get there eventually. It's just, I think a lot of people miscalculate how much work and how much effort it's actually going to take to get there.
Yeah, but it gives you so much power. I had that thought the other day after I did that 2-day showcase thing, and I was like, man, I get paid to do this shit, live music, shooting, doing my own thing. I have my own vision for it. I was like, man, this is awesome. Obviously, like you said, a lot of work goes into it, a lot of prep, a lot of time, longer hours, the edit. I shot 10 hours of footage. So I have to freaking delegate all that and go through this stuff. But at the same time, I know the end product is going to be so fulfilling. And the fact that I get to pay, I don't have to go to a Starbucks gig, pour coffees for people for 8 hours, and then go back. The fact that I have the time to do it all on my own and not have to worry about other forces, it's so fulfilling. And then in turn, it just juices you up to do more and more of those projects. You know what I mean?
It's so liberating when you get to well, that's the first step, right? The first step is you want to do what you love, but financially you haven't bridged that gap yet. So maybe you're supplementing income from something else to do the thing. And then the next step is you've managed to create income from the thing so you can just sort of be a solopreneur. Yeah. You own your job kind of thing, right? Yeah. You work for someone else, then you own your own job, which is great. And then when you own your own job for long enough, you realize, well, there's all these things about the job that I actually don't really like doing. So then you find people that like to do those jobs and you delegate, and then you start to build a company. And then all of a sudden, when you start to delegate everything away to other people that do those things really well, now you start trading the money that you earn from the company back to get time again. And then it's sort of this full circle cycle.
It's all just rooted in you believed in this thing so much that it just became because you couldn't stop thinking about it. And I think that's just to tie it back into the North Star. If you believe in something that much, other people will believe into it or believe in it, and it'll just explode if it's got the legs. You know what I mean?
Totally.
All right, dude, that was a shorter one for finding your North Star. We just wanted to add some value for you today. If you liked what you heard, let us know. If you didn't like what you heard, let us know as well, because we're trying to create this feedback loop. Like we're saying, we love feedback. We love to build this community. I think by the time this episode comes out, our live event will be coming up soon. So do you want to give a little spiel about the live event at all? Or
I don't want to keep anybody on the fence. So we are going to start doing regular live events. Mm-hmm. And the whole purpose of these live events, of these live events is to basically get people out from the shadows and, put people together in the room, get people networking, get people connecting.
Yeah.
We'll have some good little feature speaker nuggets where people can get some extra value there on all kinds of different topics, just like we're doing on the podcast. But more importantly, bring artists and industry people out into one setting for independence, so they can start building their power teams, so they can start building relationships, so they can start bridging the gap between their passion and their profession.
Boom. And that's what it's all about. And there's going to be booze. There's going to be some beer. We're not going to say who yet, because that'll be a little surprise. But come on, who doesn't want to network and drink some beers and have fun? You know what I mean? At the end of the day.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care. Have a good one. Cheers.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. And if you'd like to be notified of more episodes, please be sure to follow the Creative Island podcast now.
Want access to exclusive content, our community newsletter, live events, and so much more? Visit creativeisland.online today to join the Creative Island community.
See you at the top.